Oh no. Hi, welcome to the derivatives video. What we're going to do is we're just going to kind of go over some stuff that we know already, just to make sure that we're all on the same page with it. Like I've seen a little like fluctuations and derivative stuff, so there's nothing new or fancy in this video. So if I want to use the given information to find f prime of 2, we want to use kind of our derivative notation to help ourselves out a little bit. That'll sound okay, Mel? I hope so, because you got to get out of here. I know. So if I want to find f prime of x, so f prime of x, I need to do, no, Mel, she's biting me. No, I'm not going to play with you. Not if you bite me. That is not nice. That is not nice. We don't get my attention by biting me. We do g prime of x plus h prime of x. Now, we want to actually find f of 2, so I don't want to do any of that. Instead, I want to just write this as f prime of 2. It's going to be 2 times g prime of 2. I'm seeing a lot of people doing this step. You don't need that step. If it's asking for you to find f prime of 2, just do f prime of 2. Doesn't need to have the x in there. Then they told us what g prime of 2 is. It's -2. And then h prime of 2 is 4. I'm getting these from up here. And then we still have our 2. So this is -4 plus 4, which is 0. Done. This one's going to be a little bit more complicated. I got to find the second derivative. And it is going to be a quotient rule problem. And it's going to be a quotient rule that's followed by another quotient rule. So it's going to take a little while. That's okay. So to find g prime of x, before we can find the second derivative, I have to find g prime of x. I need to do the quotient rule. The quotient rule tells us we need to do the derivative of the top times the derivative of the bottom minus the derivative of the top, derivative of the bottom, top. So you do derivative of the top, then the bottom, derivative of the bottom, then the top. The bottom of our new fraction is just going to be whatever the old denominator was squared. So I need to do the derivative of this thing. So that is going to be still e to the x times whatever was in the denominator, x. There will always be a minus in between those two. Then we need to do the derivative of the denominator, the bottom, which is 1, times what was on top, which is still e to the x, because e to the x is weird. So this equals x squared in our denominator. In our numerator, we have e to the x times x, and then 1 times e to the x. I'm going to factor that out. It's just going to make some of my work a little bit later easier. So there is my first derivative. Now I need to find the second derivative. To find the second derivative, I'm going to have to use both the quotient rule and the power rule. I need to take the derivative of the top in order to use the quotient rule. You can see that. But to do that, we need to use the power rule. I'm sorry, the product rule. So let's find g double prime. I'm still going to do the denominator squared. So I have to do x squared, but then squared. Now I need to take the derivative of the top. So taking the derivative of the top requires me to use the product rule. When I do the product rule, I need to do the derivative of the first times the second, plus the derivative of the second times the first, similar to the quotient rule. So I do the derivative of e to the x, still e to the x, times the second, x minus 1, plus the derivative of the second thing, x minus 1, which is just 1, times the first thing, which was e to the x. So there is the derivative of the top. I need to multiply that by the derivative of the bottom. Kind of imagine that this has taken the place of this. We've gotten that far so far. Oh boy. Times what was on the bottom, which was x squared, minus, we need to do the derivative of the bottom, which is much easier, taking the derivative of this. That is going to be 2x times what was on top. Well, that's easy. That's just this. E to the x. Oh. X minus 1. All right. Now it's just a matter of trying to simplify this thing down. So I'm going to multiply the stuff that's in here together a little bit. So I get e to the x times x minus e to the x plus e to the x. Still got my x squared. And let's just kind of get rid of the brackets here. The brackets here were nice to kind of like separate what was going on there, but we don't really need them. We've got 2x times e to the x times x minus 1. All three of those things I'll multiply together. In our denominator, we've got x squared squared. That's x to the 4. Now, this minus e to the x and that plus e to the x, those two are just going to zero out because they're just 0. If you subtract an e to the x and add an e to the x, that's just gone. So those two are 0. Then we want to multiply all of this together. So we end up with x cubed e to the x. Minus all this stuff over here, 2x e to the x, x minus 1. All over x to the 4. Now, one thing I think we can do to simplify just a little bit more is there's a common factor of x here. So we've got an x. We could reduce this to 2 so that there is a separate x. And we could take one out of here. So take an x out of there, reduce this to 3. And then we could cancel all of those x's just to make this ever so slightly simpler. So this becomes x squared e to the x minus 2 e to the x, x minus 1, all over x cubed. Now, I don't know why the book does this. I think it's because there is still that common factor. The book goes one step further and it factors out this e to the x and this fraction. So you can pull that e to the x in front, similar to what I did with those x's. And an x cubed. And then you're left with some stuff on the inside that you can kind of foil together to make a nice quadratic. I think that's why they did that. But plus 2. So you get that nice quadratic. I don't really know why, but apparently they think that's more simplified. Just be ready to say either answer. I would, if it was a free response question, I would accept either answer. Oftentimes on AP exams, they say your answer does not need to be simplified. All right, a couple of simpler ones to kind of wrap up for today. Just reminding this higher order derivative notation. So if you've got f prime and f double prime, it's just asking me to take the derivative. So ignore the fact that it's a higher order derivative and just derive that. Do it correctly. How about that? You get 4x. Same thing right here. This is an f triple prime, so a third derivative. And then this is how you can write a fourth derivative. So you would do the power rule. So you would do 2 times 1/2. And then that x would get reduced and would become negative 1/2. So we would make that 2 times 1/2 to be a 1. So we get 1 over the square root of x, because I want to drop that to the denominator because it's negative. Okay, one more quotient rule problem, just to make sure we really got that quotient rule down. F prime of x equals, we need to do the derivative of the top, which is 1, times what was on the bottom, x minus 1, minus the derivative of the bottom, which is 1 again, times the derivative of the top, well, what was on top, which is x. And then this is going to be all over what was on the bottom, x minus 1 squared. So f prime of x equals x minus 1 minus x over x minus 1 squared. Those two x's will zero out, so we get negative 1 over x minus 1 squared. And that's all done. Just a nice little review, just kind of like going back, doing derivatives, making sure we got all of those things. I think that is it. Yes, that is it. Thank you for watching this bonus video. I appreciate your time and I appreciate your work. Have a good day.